listen carefully and pay attention to this. The greatest prison ever created was never built with iron bars. It was built with opinions, with status, with money, with the endless need to impress people who do not even care about you. And more than 2,000 years ago, one man declared war against all of it, not with armies, not with power, but with a cloak, a walking stick, and absolute fearlessness. His name was Diogenes, the man who slept in the streets. He slept in a barrel, the philosopher who insulted kings, the outcast who laughed at society while society secretly feared him. And the terrifying truth is this: Diogenes may have understood freedom better than modern civilization ever will. Because while the world today teaches you to become successful, Diogenes taught people how to become untouchable. And once you understand the philosophy of Diogenes, you will never look at society the same way again. So before we begin, comment below. What is one thing society pressures people to fake? Money, confidence, happiness, relationships, status? I want to see your answers. And if you stay until the end of this video, you may realize that almost everything modern society calls success is actually a sophisticated form of slavery. Now let us enter the mind of the most dangerous philosopher who ever lived, the man who rejected the entire game. Imagine walking through ancient Greece. You see wealthy men in expensive robes debating morality, politicians promising virtue while chasing power, citizens obsessing over reputation, luxury, and social approval. Then suddenly, you see a man sleeping inside a barrel. Watching society like it is one giant comedy. That was Diogenes. Most philosophers tried to appear wise. Diogenes tried to expose stupidity. And according to history, he believed society itself was mentally sick. Not because people lacked intelligence, but because they abandoned truth for comfort. You see, Diogenes understood something that most people never realize. The more society controls your desires, the less free you become. Modern people believe freedom means having more choices. Diogenes believed freedom meant needing less. And that single idea is powerful enough to destroy entire industries. Because modern civilization survives by convincing you that you are incomplete. You need a better body, a better phone, a better car, more followers, more validation, more money, more attention, more approval. The system constantly whispers, "You are not enough." But Diogenes looked at the entire machine and laughed, because he believed the person who needs nothing cannot be controlled. And this is where his philosophy becomes terrifying. Diogenes was not trying to improve society. He was trying to expose it. Most people do not live as themselves. They live as performances. A man becomes the version of himself that gains approval. A woman becomes the version society rewards. People shape their personalities around acceptance, and slowly, they forget who they actually are. Diogenes saw this thousands of years ago. He believed civilization trains people to betray their own nature. So he chose radical honesty. Not polite honesty, not socially acceptable honesty. Brutal honesty, the kind that makes people uncomfortable. And this is why so many people hated him. Because fake societies fear real people. Diogenes insulted powerful men publicly, He mocked philosophers for pretending to be wise. He exposed greed, vanity, cowardice, hypocrisy. Nothing was safe around him. And here is the dangerous lesson. Most people are not offended by truth. They are offended because truth exposes their performance. That is why modern society often punishes authenticity, because authentic people cannot be manipulated as easily. Think about it. A person who genuinely accepts themselves becomes extremely difficult to control. Advertising loses power over them. Status loses power over them. Peer pressure loses power over them. Fear loses power over them. And Diogenes wanted people to become psychologically immune to society, not by escaping physically, but by mentally detaching from artificial needs. That is why he intentionally lived with almost nothing. Not because he was weak, because he wanted absolute independence. And today, most people are richer than Diogenes ever was, yet mentally far more imprisoned. Diogenes humiliated Alexander the Great. This moment became legendary for a reason, because it perfectly revealed the difference between power and freedom. One day, Alexander the Great, the most powerful man on earth, approached Diogenes. Alexander had conquered nations, commanded armies, ruled empires. People worshipped him, feared him, obeyed him. But when he found Diogenes, the philosopher was simply lying in the sun, relaxed, unimpressed. Alexander walked up and asked, "Is there anything I can do for you?" Imagine that moment. The most powerful ruler alive, offering anything he wants. Most people would ask for wealth, position, security, protection. Diogenes replied, "Yes, move. You are blocking my sunlight." That single sentence echoed across history, because Diogenes demonstrated something almost nobody understands. The man who needs nothing is more powerful than the man who controls everything. Alexander could conquer kingdoms, but he could not conquer desire. Diogenes already had, and according to legend, Alexander later said, "If I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes." Think about how insane that is. A king envied a homeless philosopher. Why? Because deep down, even kings become slaves when they are addicted to power. Diogenes possessed something far rarer: inner freedom. And this raises an uncomfortable question for modern society. Who is truly richer? The millionaire who cannot sleep without anxiety, or the person who can sit peacefully under the sun with nothing to prove? Comment below. Would you rather have unlimited wealth or complete inner peace? I genuinely want to know. Why Diogenes believed society makes people weak. Diogenes believed comfort was dangerous. Not because comfort itself is evil, but because excessive comfort weakens the human spirit. And look around today. People panic over inconvenience. Silence makes them uncomfortable. Boredom terrifies them. A dead phone battery feels like psychological collapse. Modern society constantly overstimulates people. Endless entertainment, endless scrolling, endless distraction. And Diogenes would probably look at modern civilization and say, "You are not free, you are addicted." Because addiction is not only drugs, addiction is dependency. And dependency creates weakness. Diogenes intentionally trained himself to endure discomfort. Cold weather, hunger, rejection, loneliness, hardship. Why? Because the less external conditions controlled him, the stronger he became mentally. And this connects deeply with modern psychological resilience. Most people collapse emotionally because their minds were never trained to survive discomfort. They expect constant pleasure, constant validation, constant stimulation. But reality does not work that way. Life contains suffering, chaos, loss, pain, humiliation, failure. And Diogenes believed a person must become psychologically stronger than circumstances, not through motivation, through discipline. This is why his philosophy still matters today. Because modern society produces overstimulated minds and emotionally fragile people. Diogenes wanted to create human beings who could not be mentally broken, the most shocking thing Diogenes ever did. There is one story about Diogenes that perfectly captures his philosophy. During the daytime, he walked through Athens carrying a lantern. People laughed at him. Then they asked, "Why are you carrying a lantern in daylight?" Diogenes replied, "I am searching for an honest man." That statement was devastating, because he believed dishonesty had infected society completely. People lied to gain approval. Politicians lied for power. Citizens lied to protect image. Philosophers lied to appear intelligent. And even today, how many people are truly honest? Not socially polite, not strategically honest. Truly honest. Most people hide behind masks because vulnerability feels dangerous. But Diogenes believed truth was more important than comfort. And this is why his philosophy feels so uncomfortable in modern times. Because modern culture often rewards performance over authenticity. People carefully curate their personalities online. They filter reality, manufacture identity, edit emotions, pretend happiness, pretend confidence, pretend success, and Diogenes would probably call all of it spiritual theater. He believed humans become miserable the moment they abandon truth. Because fake identities require endless maintenance. You must constantly protect them, defend them, feed them. But truth is simple, and simplicity creates freedom. If Diogenes were alive today, he would probably terrify the internet. Because modern society runs on the exact things he rejected: attention, consumption, image, status, comparison, artificial desire. Imagine Diogenes seeing influencers renting fake luxury cars for validation. Imagine him watching people destroy their mental health, chasing online approval. Imagine him seeing corporations designing algorithms to manipulate human attention. He would probably laugh, then expose everyone publicly. And the reason his philosophy feels so powerful today is because modern people are exhausted. Not physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. People are drowning in comparison. Everyone feels behind. Everyone feels pressured. Everyone feels watched. And Diogenes offers a radical alternative. Stop playing the game entirely. Not laziness, not passivity. Freedom. Freedom from fake expectations. Freedom from endless comparison. Freedom from needing applause to feel valuable. Because once your self-worth depends on public approval, you become society's prisoner. And Diogenes wanted to break those chains completely. The philosophy of shamelessness. One of the most misunderstood parts of Diogenes' philosophy was shamelessness. Society called him shameless because he ignored social norms. But Diogenes believed many social rules were artificial, designed to create obedience rather than truth. Now, this does not mean chaos. It means questioning. Why do humans fear judgment so deeply? Why do people hide their real thoughts? Why are people terrified of embarrassment? Because shame is one of society's most powerful weapons. Fear of judgment controls behavior more effectively than force. Most people never pursue their real dreams because they fear looking foolish. They fear rejection, failure, criticism, humiliation. But Diogenes intentionally embarrassed himself publicly. Why? Because he was training psychological immunity. The moment you stop fearing public opinion, you become dangerous. And this idea alone could transform someone's life. Imagine living without the constant need to impress strangers. Imagine creating freely, speaking honestly, existing authentically, without obsessing over judgment. That is the freedom Diogenes wanted people to experience. And most people will never taste it. Because conformity feels safer than truth. Diogenes believed the strongest human being is the one who can survive without dependence. Not isolation. Inner independence. This is one of the deepest teachings in his philosophy. Modern society teaches emotional dependency everywhere. People depend on relationships to feel complete, depend on money for identity, depend on praise for confidence, depend on distraction to avoid themselves. But Diogenes believed dependence creates vulnerability. The more your happiness relies on external things, the more fragile your peace becomes. This does not mean abandoning human connection. It means building an internal foundation stronger than external chaos. And this is why Diogenes trained simplicity. He wanted to prove happiness does not come from possessions. It comes from mastery over desire. One story says Diogenes owned a cup for drinking water. Then one day, he saw a child drinking with bare hands. So Diogenes threw the cup away, because even that felt unnecessary. Now, most people hear that story and think he was insane, but the philosophy underneath it is profound. He was constantly asking, what do I actually need? And modern society rarely asks that question. Instead, it constantly asks, what else can I consume? That difference changes everything. Why people secretly fear Diogenes. Diogenes makes people uncomfortable because his life exposes uncomfortable truths. You cannot easily manipulate someone who does not care about status. You cannot easily threaten someone who is not afraid of losing luxury. You cannot easily shame someone who accepts themselves fully. And this is why radically free people often scare society, because they expose how dependent everyone else has become. Deep down, many people know they are trapped. Trapped by expectations, debt, social pressure, image maintenance, validation, addiction. And Diogenes represents psychological rebellion against all of it. But there is another reason people fear his philosophy. Because it forces a terrifying question. How much of your life is genuinely yours? Did you choose your dreams? Or were they installed into you? Did you choose your identity? Or did society shape it for acceptance? Did you choose your desires, or were they manufactured by culture? Diogenes wanted humans to wake up from unconscious living, to stop blindly following the crowd, to stop worshiping appearances, to stop confusing wealth with wisdom. And honestly, that message may be more relevant today than ever before. The dark side of modern success. Modern society worships success. But Diogenes asked a dangerous question. Success, according to who? A man can become wealthy and still hate his life. A person can become famous and remain deeply insecure. Someone can gain status and still feel empty. Because external achievement doesn't automatically create internal freedom, and Diogenes believed most people chase goals they never consciously chose. That is why people reach success and still feel lost, because they climbed a ladder, leaning against the wrong wall. And this is one of the deepest psychological traps in existence. People spend years building identities around money, approval, and image, only to realize they still do not know themselves. Diogenes wanted people to reverse the process. Know yourself first, master desire second, then build life intentionally, not blindly, not reactively, not based on social pressure, but consciously. And maybe that is why his philosophy still survives thousands of years later. Because even in modern civilization, human beings are still searching for freedom. The final lesson of Diogenes. At the core of Diogenes' philosophy was one brutal truth. Most suffering is created by unnecessary desire, the endless craving for more approval, more luxury, more recognition, more validation. And the more people chase these things, the more anxious they become. Because desire without mastery creates endless dissatisfaction. Diogenes believed peace begins the moment you stop worshiping what society worships. Not because ambition is evil, but because unconscious ambition becomes slavery. He wanted people to become mentally untouchable, able to stand alone, able to think independently, able to survive rejection, able to exist without constant external approval. And perhaps that is the real reason Diogenes still fascinates the world. Because he represents something almost extinct today. A human being completely unafraid of society. No mask, no performance, no dependence. Just truth. Raw and terrifying truth. And whether people admired him or hated him, nobody could control him. So now I want you to answer one final question in the comments. If you could free yourself from one social pressure forever, what would it be? I will personally read the best responses. And if this video changed the way you see society, subscribe now to join the path toward mental freedom, Stoic wisdom, and psychological mastery. And remember, for a free transformational guide, email transformation to thestoicpath33@gmail.com. Until next time, protect your mind from the illusions of the crowd. This is just the beginning. Check out the next video coming up. There we dive even deeper to exposing the hidden truths